Hello my friends, let's start this video from the front lines and we have some of the good news. The main ones that Pokrovsk and Mirnograd they still hold. Ukrainian army is capable to defend those two settlements. Well yes, Pokrovsk as you may see mainly it is in a gray area. However, for this hour it is early to say that it is fully occupied or Ukrainian forces are being encircled fully completely. No, it is not happening like that. Moreover, Ukraine today was successful in a small counterattack inside the central part of Pokrovsk, and there we have this flag which Ukraine put on Pokrovskaya Mieska Rada. So that's the government building of entire Pokrovsk. That's the main square of this town. And if we click on the link, here we have the confirmation geolocation Ukrainian armed forces presence. That's the government building itself, and here is Ukrainian flag that was spotted today by some sort of the drone flying around. Ukrainian drone, obviously. Yeah, if we return back to the image, you might see that most of the buildings in Pokrovsk, they were devastated, half ruined or fully ruined. That is what is happening to all of the settlements that Russia gains or occupies. They're being just destroyed, ruined. Here we have the full video of the operation. The Ukrainian army is conducting also supplies in the area. Ukraine also tries to remove soldiers from Mirnograd and Pokrovsk. And here we have the details of this operation. Our soldiers commented that the infiltration group of the Russian soldiers were demolished, flat-lined in this part of the city. Yeah, actually not the city, but the town. After all, Pokrovsk is not that huge. However, it is a very important, well, at least it used to be a very important supply hub, but I don't think that Russia will be capable to use the railroad connection any longer. This train station is gone, the railways, they're damaged, and to repair them, well, Russia is unable to repair it. So as the logistic center, Pokrovsk has been degraded, let's say, because of the war action, because it's been ruined. And you see where Ukraine put this flag, it's more close to the southern part of the city, actually very far away from the previously spotted Russian locations. And we know that Russian forces imprisoned one of the Ukrainian infantrymen very close to this crossroad. But if Ukrainian infantry is spotted out there, it means that everything in Pokrovsk is mixed. So yesterday some of the Russian troops could be spotted in the northern part. Today Ukrainian forces spotted in the southern region. The front lines, they do not exist. So yesterday maybe it was early for me to say that Russians established control over this very important crossroad and this entire district, because it's crucial for Ukrainian supplies. There is one more crossroad more to the north, but I think that after all Ukraine is capable to use this one as well. And despite some of the Russian infiltration groups, Ukraine still tries to repel them. So we have actually good news from Pokrovsk today, and for the last 24 hours Russians were not capable to expand in territorial control in the city. Or the town, yeah, I always say city. So it was yesterday and it is today absolutely zero Russian advancement from Mirnograd, Pokrovsk. However, they attempted to attack to Mirnograd. I guess they used this main road from Novoekonomichne, but their convoy was ambushed. Yes, again, Russians used some of the armored vehicles before they tried to go to Shakhove and Vladimirovka. They lost 70 of the vehicles there around for the last months. Well, here they try finally to get Mirnograd under control. Well, it failed. Let me show you some of the videos. This one was published by Spilnota Sternenko, so it's Sternenko volunteer, the main volunteer of Ukrainian armed forces if we speak about the drones. So here is the Russian Hunger BTR or maybe BMP vehicle. I think it's BMP after all. Yeah, it has caterpillars, so it's BMP, maybe MTLB, and all of those vehicles, they were caputed. There were several of those stacked on the front lines. They tried to deliver infantry forces. Oh, some of the BTR there as well. Yeah, BTR, BMP, some other BMP, they stuck in the same place. It's kind of interesting. Is there a big pond there once again for the Russian armored vehicles? Wow, this is hell. It looks like they all went through the same bottleneck road, and for Ukrainian drone operators, of course, it's the best case scenario to concentrate all of the drone strikes in a single place. And as we witness here, the hunger protection of those vehicles, it doesn't play that crucial role. Ukraine still is capable to kaput them quite effectively. Yes, Ukrainian army has to waste lots of the drones to get through and to kaput the vehicle itself behind the square armor, but Ukraine shows that it is capable to do it quite effectively. Ukraine mastered the drone operations in Pokrovsk, in Mirnograd, and what Bild says today that Mirnograd is like fully encircled. The Ukrainian army has to surrender, or Ukraine has to break through with heavy losses and fights. Well, it's not real for now, guys. The situation in Mirnograd is still, well, it's close to be very difficult, close to catastrophic, I would say. But still, Ukrainians control the settlement. Plus, Ukrainian army causes severe losses absolutely for Russians. Russians struggle there. They thought that they can occupy Pokrovsk in a matter of days. Yes, it could be like that, days or weeks. Finally, they will get Pokrovsk under control. But we see the new stage in Ukrainian resistance. So Ukrainian military command really does something, I would say, outstanding for the last 24 hours at least to somehow repel those Russian attacks. And today's flag in the central part of the Pokrovsk itself, it really shows that Ukraine has the resources in Pokrovsk. Yeah, now I understand that the main nature of this counteroffensive operation is to unblock Pokrovsk as wider as possible to get the forces out from Mirnograd and Pokrovsk itself and all of those villages in the south to save the lives of our defenders. It's the most important thing. The eyes of every sort of the independent journalist, military journalist and analytic are now focused on Pokrovsk. It is very important what is happening, and that's why in my videos I'm telling about Pokrovsk right away, because it's the main hotspot. And as for today, I showed you we have some of the good news, which is very encouraging. Yesterday I was a little bit depressed and even pessimistic about the situation in Pokrovsk, but with the news coming today, I have a great hope that Ukraine will be able to get the forces out without losses or with minimum losses. It is a very good sign what is happening today. And guys, as you know, I tell the truth. So for today, this is encouraging, really encouraging, guys, and yeah, motivating a lot. Seeing those kind of the pictures, of course, it's always great. And here I can show you the pictures of the ruined Russian vehicles, but I cannot show you the ruined Russian infantry forces because of the platform restrictions. But there was the image showing dozens of Russians lying at the same direction. It happened, I think, the day before yesterday. I mean, the actual attack, the photo was published today from the drone camera perspective. And guys, they were lying one on other near, very close, maybe altogether up to 100 of the Russian soldiers at the same place, like the field totally covered with their flatlined bodies. Guys, it is crazy what losses they have, and it doesn't matter on the size of the Russian army. They cannot sustain it forever, of course. Well, Putin may announce this, massive mobilization to the Russian army. He potentially may get like 2 million soldiers easily, but it's kind of unpopular step, and he still tries to avoid that one, and he is performing the hidden mobilization I already mentioned you before, but there is no variant for Russia to sustain those losses for extensive period of time. Absolutely. So there will be the moment for Russian army to really struggle. Yeah, we're gonna touch that topic a little later. Now let's go back to the front lines. Yep, really, it is not that far away from the front lines. Again, Donetsk Oblast, very close to the Donetsk city itself. Ukraine targets the Russian ammunition facilities. I would say very effective. Here we go, this ammunition already burns and sparks. Locals report about severe kaboom that happened at the place. Well, it is not a surprise that Russians are using Donetsk and Horlivka, those are the settlements very close together, as the main supply hub for their army group, also in Pokrovsk direction. So Ukraine tries to stop the Russian advancement not just in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd themselves, but also behind the front lines. And here, as it is reported, the Storm Shadow missiles were in operation. So that's why my friends from those countries who support Ukraine, well guys, thank you so much for your kind support of Ukrainian army. And your government, sometimes they do a proper job, kind of restricted, limited. Ukraine still needs more ammunition, but support matters, yeah? And the weapons that Ukraine currently has are awesome, and they're very effective, as you may judge on this screenshot. Yeah, the kabooms are happening there all the evening. It's already the chain reaction, the fire burns, and Russians cannot eliminate it. So there is the high chance right now that the Russian assaults will just slow down or bog down in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. Lack of munition. Shoigu Gerasimov, where is the munition? Well, it is out there burning.
Нахуй.
Yeah, it's really huge actually. At first I thought that it's the small one, but no. This guy says that he lost the windows in his house, and it's quite far away, judging from what I see here. Yep, it might happen like that even. So now Ukraine has pretty much high chances to get our guys out from this pocket. It's already understandable. I hope that it will be like that. And you see that Ukrainian drones are more frequently flying in Pokrovsk compared to the Russian drones. Yeah, plus the big attack of the Russian convoy was stopped. The Russian convoys there in 90% of the cases not effective at all. I wonder why Russians are still using those. And we have some good news from Shakhova, because Ukraine gains more ground here. There's a tiny little spot for the Russian army left. I guess the same update we have from the Deep State. Yeah, Deep State also confirms the situation, that it's basically one tree line with few of the Russian soldiers, and obviously they'll have to surrender or they will be kaputted by Ukraine. So this famous offensive of the Russian army towards Zoloty Kolodets, well, it basically failed. Guys, I want to be honest with you, what I afraid the most on the front lines, and probably I already told you before, but nevertheless, you see this line from Slavyansk to Konstantinivka. This is the main Ukrainian defense line. And also there is the line like the trenches, the dragon teeth and everything of that, reservoirs, which was built somewhere over here. It goes via Zoloty Kolodets, and still behind Pokrovsk there are some of the smaller defense line and the main defense line. So the tricky thing, if Russia occupies all of this area, or if they break through Ukrainian defense and try to bypass to encircle Ukrainian army group in Kramatorsk, Slavyansk and all of those villages. And here behind you may see there are just few of the settlements which are more or less big. So Russia potentially, if they break through, if they occupy Donbass, they may propel faster than they were. For example, from Avdiivka to Pavlograd, it took them almost 2 years. But here their pace could be way faster. I think that it could be even comparable to what it was in 2022, not in February, but maybe in March. Then Russia was still propelling pretty much fast alongside many of the Ukrainian front lines. And you may say, okay, Dennis, Ukraine is winning the time to build trenches here behind, so Ukraine is capable to create new lines. And for Russia to penetrate everything of that, they'll have to waste thousands and thousands of the soldiers. I would agree with you, but there is one big exception nowadays. Russia changed the situation on the front lines, mainly because of the drones, yes, and also because of the aviation gliding bombs, which they use far behind the front lines. And now there are new modifications of those gliding bombs, and I believe that Russia will use those massively. They equip the stunner bomb with a jet engine, and that bomb may fly for 200 kilometers. And just imagine how engineering forces could build those defense lines. Everything of that, this entire region of not just Donbass, but Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, everything of that within the range of those gliding bombs. Iskanders are very expensive. Russia uses those occasionally, but gliding bombs with the small jet engines just to maintain the gliding profile, losing the altitude, but little by little. Well, the great power of Ukraine in this case under the risk, including the capital city of Kiev, because it is within the range if Russia starts to operate from their Bryansk Oblast. So here Ukraine is unable to build those robust defense lines any longer. And Ukraine spent years and years preparing Donbass for the very deep defense. There were many of the trenches, all of the infrastructure that was built. That's why for Russia it's very hard to propel, for example, from Bakhmut to Chasiv Yar. It was difficult for them to get Avdiivka under control. That actually was at the edge of the previous front lines with so-called DPR, yeah? But we know that this entire group is the Russian false flag operation. they acted with their own army. Nevertheless, Ukraine, even with the previous government, was building those defense lines for years, and that's why Russia is gaining the ground here in Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia regions. So with the same pace, or maybe even faster, Russia could gain the ground in this area and also move to Pavlograd, to Kharkiv, maybe from the south. This region is the main defense that protects the entire part, this eastern part of Ukraine, so there's the great risk for it. And honestly, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I still think that Putin will continue its so-called special military operation in Ukraine until he thinks he is capable for it. And also, I think Putin may announce even a new mobilization, which could happen the next year. Yeah, I always tell about mobilization, I understand, because I watched those drone videos, I see the Russian losses, and I still cannot comprehend how Russians may sustain those. And they appear more and more. There are some volunteers coming, Russian conscripts, they are mainly forced to sign the contracts with the Russian army. It's crazy what is happening out there in Russia, but still they have their infantry forces and they're capable for resources. And for Russia, it will take years and years, unfortunately, to stagnate. I mean, their economy, they're still living better nowadays than it was for them in the 90s or 80s during the Soviet time period. And Putin knows that, so he may push Russians even further. He knows how Russians may struggle and still support the government. It is crazy what is happening in Russia. And Putin is very lucky with the people he has, because they are not protesting that much. And some of them, the main part, I would say, they support what is happening in Ukraine. It's crazy. All right, let's go to this map. What we have in a new update? Well, Ukrainian forces propelled in Shakhov, I showed you it, and the enemy advanced in Bologivka and Kamainka. Okay, you see, this is the northern part of Kharkiv. So yesterday and today, Russia penetrated the border into Ukraine from the new area. Well, they did it from Milova before, and now Bologivka is the new hotspot. You see, Russia is very active in Kharkiv region. And why are they using their resources for the Kharkiv Oblast, occupying it? Why they advanced to Kupiansk? Because they didn't put this oblast into their constitution. So it's one more sign that Russia is interested not just in those 5 regions, including Crimea, yeah, but they also interested in Kharkiv, in Sumy region, in Dnipropetrovsk region, which they haven't put in their constitution, but still they attack there. And of course, Russia wants to occupy Dnipro, Zaporizhia, because if they cross the Dnipro River from those 2 settlements, it may give them the freedom to operate in this area, the right bank of Ukraine, and they may possess the threat to other countries around. Also Moldova, there's the threat will be for Kherson, for Odessa, Mykolaiv, for Kremenchuk, Kropyvnytsky, Cherkasy, and even Kiev. I think those are the main 2 goals for Russia, Zaporizhia and Dnipro, and they'll try their best to occupy those settlements. Yes, it might take them years and years, but if they take the main defense line of Ukraine from Slavyansk to Konstantinivka, well, it's gonna take them less of the time. I'm absolutely sure about it, because Ukrainian defense is not prepared that much in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and we see it on this advancement. Like, for example, if we go, let's say 2 months ago, yeah, in August the 1st, here you go, and now, today, wow, it's the fast advancement, I may count it. And still there is at least a single defense line that Ukraine built, that's why it's that slow, but here, no defense lines at all. So I think that Russia potentially may go fast over here.
Point away from their position. Crew members jump out. The commander calculates coordinates. Data.
Have you watched this video? I encourage you again to watch this one. It is called 1 Year on the Pokrovsk Front Line, filmed by documentary journalist American Dylan Burns, who is doing absolutely great jobs. My friends, I'll put again the video which he filmed, that's the masterpiece, in the video description just below, and you may go and check it out yourself. This video should have way more views. Believe me, this job is outstanding. What this guy is doing in Ukraine is absolutely great. I would say the heroism of journalism. That's all about him. And just a hint for you for tomorrow's video, which I'm gonna publish. I already edited it. Well, there is nothing really to edit. I just recorded the podcast interview with Dylan himself. I wrote him the message, he replied, and today A few hours ago we recorded that, and I'm gonna post it tomorrow during the daytime, I guess. Well, obviously via Zoom conference the sound is not that good quality, but it is understandable. It was a fantastic interview, and I really enjoy what Dylan does for Ukraine. He's a really awesome guy, so please check out his video because we need to share it, to watch it, and to boost this type of the content. Dylan is fantastic, great guy, and check out his channel, check out his videos. He's also doing streams. Really, he is my favorite reporter about the war in Ukraine. Alright, maybe I'm jumping from one topic to another. In Vladimirovka, actually, Russia propelled just a little, you know. Yesterday and today, they tried to advance now with infantry, but before they buried dozens of their vehicles, not thousands, dozens. It means close to 70 altogether. From all of the drone videos, I calculated the exact number. It's 74 of the vehicles. I'm just telling you around 70, so it's 74 the actual number. And now they changed for the infantry attacks, but as we know, those bridges are being cut. It was a very hilarious video. Then Russian motorcyclists went to the bridge and they stopped in front of it. The bridge collapsed before, but Russian military command sent us here. What should we do? And then Ukrainian drones struck them, and oh my god, that video was crazy. One of the craziest videos I ever seen actually for this war. I imagine how desperate those Russians were when they saw that the bridge actually collapsed long time ago. So very poor planning from the Russian military command, and they're even like Russian command is so incompetent. It's just crazy. And that is good. If Russians were more competent, they would have occupied Pokrovsk the last year. Then I mentioned that, oh, Russians probably could occupy Pokrovsk till the new year, but now it's gonna be the new year of 2026. Oh my god. Yeah, Russia is struggling actually. If we check out this timeline, yeah, and if you check out their losses, it's madness army what they do there, but they may allow those losses to happen because Russians are okay with those losses, and the Russian army command as well. And also in Privilia, Russia attacks. That's of course Dnipropetrovsk direction, very close to Zaporizhia. There Russia propels every day. Here I may admit that Ukrainian defense is kind of weak compared to Donbass, and Russia has all of the chances to advance to this river, and of course they will try to penetrate Ukrainian defense. Well, if that happens, Russians will have almost the free way to advance to Zaporizhia. Unfortunately, it is happening. Still not the worst scenario unfolds there. I hope that Pokrovsk settlement and this defense line are robust. We'll see, because this fight will happen the next year already. It is understandable. What is happening in Kupiansk after this Ukrainian attempt to cut Russians in Holubivka and trap them in Kupiansk? Well, I haven't seen the further attempts, and judging on this military map update, yeah, there were no any more attempts for Ukrainian side to cut Russian supplies entirely. Just the second attempt, but was it successful or not? Hard to judge, really. Well, Ukraine lost the vehicle, at least one. There were two of the vehicles, actually. The next one continued the movement. Maybe it deployed troops in Golubivka, landed them there, but I'm not sure. Russians are not sharing those kind of the videos. They show just a single vehicle being hit and the other one disappeared somewhere. Alright, as for the front lines, it's over. Let's go to the other news. To upset, the Russian port, which was kaboomed by Ukrainian drone strikes, stopped its operation completely. According to the satellite images, there are still oil leakages from multiple of the places of this piers. Can we call it a piers? Well, the oil connection pipe, it's been broken, it is leaking. Russians cannot stop it, so they cannot export their oil using this very important port of Russia in the Black Sea. Ukraine applies the drone sanctions, which are very important. And yes, we understand that Russia will repair it, but there will be another strike, as it happened before with the drone boats that hit the same facility around 1 month ago. Here is one more strike. Well, Russians repair more and more, you will still be disturbed. And little by little, the Russian economy will be influenced. Yes, it's not the immediate action on Russia, but in a long-term scenario, Russia may struggle quite a lot. Unfortunately, guys, with the Russian size and knowing their resources, it might take years, as I mention in my videos all the time. Years and years and years. It's my incompetent prediction, let's say, but judging on what was happening and what is happening right now, I think it will take lots of the time for the Russian economy to really struggle. Like, it's imminent, I'm sure about it, unless there will be black swans, unknown events like Prigozhin happening in Russia. Russia still has lots of the resources to sustain this war, especially with support from the countries as China and some different countries. Even European countries, they still continue to purchase fossil fuels for Russia, which, as for me, is crazy. Wow, what is this? This is the Russian airplane Ilyushin 76. The part of the airplane, clearly it's Ilyushin. It's the top part of the T-type of the empennage. The vertical stabilizer is here, and this is the top part, and this is the horizontal stabilizer. So the airplane was just shut down. It was falling from the skies somewhere and hit the ground. The local guys are happy that they've shut down this airplane. So far, it's hard to tell about the operator, the airline itself, but the crew was a Russian one. Previously, this aircraft was taken or purchased in Kyrgyzstan. Just 1.5 months ago, it was this purchase done for $12 million. Well, that is how $12 million look like. Well, so far it's hard to tell what was on board of this airplane, but knowing this region of Sudan, there could be some of the flammable materials, let's call them like that. Yes, Russians sell their weapons. I guess they do it also for Venezuela, because 2 of the Ilyushin 76 aircraft, the same type, were flying to Caracas. I think the day before yesterday there was the last flight of the Russian cargo aircraft delivering allegedly some of the air defense systems to Venezuela, like Panzer 1S and Buk. I do expect some of the escalation in that region against Venezuela, probably as well, but I don't honestly think that Trump will start the full-scale invasion of Venezuela. I don't think it's kind of profitable and popular in the United States. For this reason alone, it's kind of the stupid idea, but Trump is unpredictable after all, so who knows, who knows. And by the way, about Russia and the United States of, so am I look like Putin? Yeah, that was funny. So here's Putin. He had the national security meeting today that Russia tries to escalate, even kabooming some of the nuclear bombs somewhere in the northern part of Russia. That is their so-called response on United States nuclear exercise. But Trump didn't say about any sort of the direct nuclear kabooms. He said about the mirror action, and I guess they already launched some sort of the ICBM somewhere, United States and Russia wants to escalate here. Belousov say, oh, I propose to kaboom the nuke, but clearly it's not his proposal. This one is coming from Putin. He just wrote the text for Belousov to say it openly that it is not coming from Putin. No, it's our defense minister proposed, and we're gonna conduct those nuclear exercises, I guess, for the first time since the Soviet Union collapsed. So just imagine this level of escalation. It is not good, guys, at all, but I'm sure that Russia will kaboom that nuclear bomb because Putin wants to pressure Trump, from what I see, really wants to pressure Trump. From one side, Dmitriev, who is so-called Russian economy ambassador in the United States and tries to make the deal with Vitkov, Donald Trump. So he proposes, prosperity for both Russia and the United States economy. But on the other hand, Putin, with help of his military circle, they threaten the United States of America. But we may like Donny, we may not like him, but he's not the guy who is threatened that fast, and he will resist. He will escalate even more if he doesn't really like that pressure. I believe that honestly, and he doesn't have Jake Sullivan as the national security advisor. Please do not escalate. Please do not apply those sanctions against the Russian Lukoil and Rosneft, because oil prices will rise and you will not win the elections. Probably he said like that to Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden, after all, he lost the elections anyways. Well, with Donny, at least Ukraine has hands untightened to use its drones and everything it has against the Russian refineries. this. Also, Donny applied those strict sanctions on Russia. I hope he will reinforce them because it is must-have for any sort of the sanctions, because Russia and partners of Russia, they will try to circumnavigate those. The only thing that America is not supporting Ukraine directly, it is done via European allies, and it's not enough. We need direct military support from USA. If Donny does that, it would be awesome. But before that, I'll still continue to criticize Donald Trump at least sometimes. But if he does that step, wow, it could be really awesome and even better for Ukraine than with the previous White House administration. I continue to tell about it, that it was kind of relatively weak and very slow in decision making. So this confrontation, nuclear confrontation, between the United States and Russia, it is really like Putin's actions, stupid actions. They're really profitable for Ukraine nowadays. He will still not attack any sort of the country using nukes. Putin will chicken out, it's 100%. He likes his lifestyle, he likes his life, and he will not use nukes. I'm almost sure about it. Yeah, still there is the variant for him to use nukes, but it's very, very low. At least judging on the information we know about Putin, well, yeah, Putin is showing his true face to Donny. He wants to manipulate Donny, he wants to threaten him. Donny doesn't like it. We see it, and it is good. The only not good thing is the real nuclear test that will just harm ecology. And in general, it's not good to kaboom nuclear weapons in the 21st century. Oh, it seems like the special military operation really goes according to plan. Russia started to put those kind of the towers around Moscow. Well, usually those are the platforms for the Russian air defense. Russians put them on top a little for them to see more. Usually they put Buk systems or Panzer 1S. Sometimes S-300, but kind of rarely. So Russians have to use their air defense systems to protect Moscow instead of protecting the front lines, which is kind of good. So Ukraine has even this kind of the profit in those strikes on Moscow region. And of course, from entire Russia, Moscow is the most protected. Putin wants Moscow to live more or less calm. But around 3 days ago, there were blackouts. I think it was on Halloween, when some of the Moscow districts celebrated it in the darkness, yeah. To avoid those kind of the cases, Russia wants to put more air defense, yeah. Everything to Moscow, Russian army, deployed to Moscow, because Ukrainian army soon will be there in Moscow, at least with the drones. And guys, thank you so much for your kind support on Patreon. Without your support, my job wouldn't be possible. So those guys who do their investment into my job, thank you so much. And you may check out my Patreon with the Patreon link in the video description just below, or you may join the channel membership with the join button. Thank you again so much for your support. And if you don't have this opportunity to support me financially, or you don't want to, just press your like to this channel and subscribe for it. For this video, yeah, like for the video and subscribe for the channel. That is how it should properly sound. Because by doing it, you propel this video in YouTube algorithms, and you also help me a lot. My friends, as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.